Welcome back to the CyberVault. I'm delighted to be joined by Tal Melamed here today. Tal is an investor, a multi-time startup founder, and an executive within security. Today we're going to be looking at Agentic AI, and the general adoption of AI into security is confusing, complex, and a very fast-paced space. So we're going to look at what technologies are worth adopting, where the gaps are, and where do these tools potentially fall down. It'll all be unpacked in the episode, but to start with, Tal, great to have you on. A pleasure to be talking with you. Why don't you kickstart and maybe give us a little bit more of an intro to yourself?
Thanks, Kathy. Happy to be here myself. I'm very excited to talk about my journey and what I've been doing and what I'm going to do in the next future. Yeah, so coming from a security background, about 20 years. Um, I've been through enterprises, consulting, and startups. So pretty much seen it all. Um, I said about 4 years ago, I founded a company called Cloud Distance. We did cloud native security testing. Um, the journey there was quick, basically, but changed everything for me right after. Um, yeah, I've been working with two amazing co-founders. Actually, we've met online. I've never met them in person before we signed to be co-founders. Um, yeah, very excited to be here.
Fab. Well, Tal, thank you for the introduction, and you touched on it there because your career as a founder, I think, is pretty interesting, and I know you're going through it all again, which is super exciting. But genuinely, I think you have to have one of the fastest acquisitions from conception I've ever seen to date. And what was pretty cool about that actually is you also then got the introduction to the world of VC, and I think people were like, "Wow, you've been able to do this," and I mean, probably a bit of a roller coaster. Um, why don't you maybe just give us a little bit of a story about what happened there, and then we'll really get into the nitty and gritty of the agentic AI world.
Yeah, sure. Interesting story indeed. I think actually today there are many fast acquisitions, mainly due to AI, but maybe we can cover that a little bit later. Um, so I had this technology I've been working on, and I was by myself, and I was looking for founders to build this with. It took me 6 months or so. Been talking to random people on LinkedIn, and they threw me one and not to another until I landed on two amazing partners. We took this from an idea on my computer or a little tech on my computer to something we can ship and scale. We had an initial company customer was a very big insurance company in the States, and they really liked the idea and the product. So uh, the problem there was that they are a big insurance company, highly regulated, and they were just a startup with I don't know 2 months on the road. So we couldn't get in because we didn't have all the certifications and everything that needed for a company for a third party to join such a company regulated company. So they suggested, because they really liked the product, they suggested we would can come through their partner here, their vendor, application security vendor, Contrast Security, and with a few discussions there, it led to the acquisition of Cloud Essence after 6 months after inception. Yeah.
No, I mean, an incredible insight there, Tal. And like I say, I think I don't think many people can say that they've gone from the conception to acquisition within the space of 6 months, but it definitely made the journey a quick one for you. But obviously you're now going and doing it all over again. And what I want to really get into though, and what you've really got an expertise on is the world of agentic AI, because let's be honest, the widespread adoption of this in organizations is happening fast. I mean, what are the key things that you're seeing when it comes to the adoption here? Kind of where are people really leveraging agentic AI in their orgs?
Right. So as you mentioned, we're starting all over again. So we did the 3 years lock-in contrast. and then we left just end of 2023, just after the AI boom, right? And we started thinking where we can, how we can use this AI to bring value to the market. Actually, initially, we started with something completely different. We built an AI agent that should integrate into the security team and help them solve their day-to-day tasks. And we got promising results early on using AI, of course. But then we started the discussions with potential customers, and we've seen there's a huge gap in ad- using AI and adopting AI agents in the organization. So, because we needed access to the code repositories, we needed access to the infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, we needed access to documentation, we needed access to everything basically, so we can ingest it like a regular employee, a security analyst or so. Uh, and they weren't ready for that. So we kind of figured out there is a gap there, and we pivoted and we started working on that. And yeah, and we've successfully raised a significant seed recently, just beginning of this month. And we're very excited to start working with our first customers who are in a very big, let's say, pickle right now.
It's definitely an exciting time for you, and I think one thing that's pretty noticeable is the continuous investment within, kind of not just security, but especially businesses that have a really good offering around kind of the AI space. And like I say, it's really kind of rapidly being adopted by organizations of all sizes, of all verticals. I mean, when you think about it, because obviously your career as a founder and having those introductions to the world of VC, you're obviously getting the opportunity to kind of invest in a couple of things and get exposure to a whole host of different technologies. What would you say are some of the key kind of technologies within the space, or at least kind of, you know, the key things that are really coming forward that are pretty relevant to the world of AI?
Yeah, so you're right. We've also talked with a lot of VCs. The cliche that you get, I don't know, 30 no's before a single VC tells you you should go ahead with your idea. We thought it would be much easier for us because we're three experienced founders with multiple exits already, but it was tough. The thing is that there are so many. So the adoption of AI is crazy, and you've seen everywhere. And for that, I've never seen such a thing. There are so many security companies coming to help those organizations adopt AI in all the forms and types. And the market is not only changing so fast, that also there is the market is huge. So the competition also is quite hard. And what we've hearing from VCs is that they're confused. They don't know who to trust. They're seeing so many solutions, even if from different aspects and from different angles. And they also think the market is changing so fast that they are concerned. So what we've seen so far is that, first of all, we've seen pressure from the organization to adopt AI. It brings so much promise and so much value. Um, I don't know if you've seen recent acquisitions or recent development of single-handed products, right? Why? So a single person, a founder with no investment, using AI to building a product, reaching hundreds or tens or millions of ARR, or sending the companies. So that's a huge promise from the organization side, from the innovation side, and the security team get all this pressure, but they really have no real visibility and control over it. So they're kind of in a place where they need something to help them with the adoption of agentic AI. And just to maybe to align to get aligned on what agentic AI is not necessarily companies that say we have AIs that replace humans. It could be any um, software workflow, semi-autonomous or completely autonomous, in which the decision is and the direction is being taken by an AI or LLM, if you will. So basically, any software that you have on your computer that you prompt or not prompt and just takes the decisions and start working on your machine or your endpoint or your infrastructure. All of those are agents that work within the organization.
I think kind of what you're talking about there, Tal, is really interesting because I think firstly people just hear the word AI and they don't actually or even agentic AI, they don't always really understand exactly what it is, and I think that's because it's a bit of a buzzword. Everybody's using it. Some people say that they use AI even though it's kind of oh, something's just automated. Like obviously that what you're saying there is okay. It's when something can kind of think for itself, which in reality, if you think about that adoption, I suppose kind of I want to ask the question, are there times where you think people are looking at this and they just want to adopt kind of agentic AI or any kind of systems like this just because it sounds good or anything? Like are there times basically where people are unnecessarily adopting it? Or would you say, look, if you can, I'd encourage to use it. It doesn't really matter where because it's a great tool and it's probably makes things more efficient.
Yeah, good question. So individually, obviously AI can accelerate things. Uh, a good engineer can actually do um, a work of 10 average engineers uh, before AI. And I'm talking about engineers because maybe developers and engineers were the first ones to adopt it so quickly. Um, I think organizations need and they will use AI everywhere. It really changes. It's a tectonic move in how we build software today, in how we consume things in the organizations. Uh, it's not. I would say it's even bigger than the cloud. Like the cloud was a huge thing, and at the beginning, people said, "No, I don't trust the cloud." Uh, but eventually, everyone moves there. So yeah, I always said I trust AWS more than I trust a startup or a small company, which I don't know. So, um, and I think in AI it's even quicker, faster, and with higher adoption. I'm not sure all the organization already have agentic AI, but everyone uses AI. Uh, the thing is, like everything else, every other technology, you come to a CISO and you tell them, "What do you have?" And they say, "No, we don't have anything." And then um, you go in, they give you the access to check what they have, and you find everything. And they have no idea because at CISOs, for example, or the organization can sanction and allow organization to use, I don't know if they're a Microsoft shop, then a Copilot Studio, or if they're using Salesforce, then Workforce. But once they do, people in the organization, employees can just go in and with a few clicks, few drag and drops, they create their own agents that it can read, summarize email, get documentation and everything, and you don't get any visibility into it because they don't even go through the traditional development life cycle. They don't go through the security checks. So basically, you have no idea what you have running in the organizations. What we do see mostly is maybe the traditional or the original Gen AI, Chat GPTs, and today Cursor and Anthropic for developers, uh, which at the beginning it sounds like they're just Gen AI. You prompt, they output, but I don't know if you heard about the MCP protocol that was brought by Anthropic. Basically, huge adoption. You can find MCP servers everywhere. MCP is basically a protocol that allow AI clients to talk to other services in the organization, for example. So basically, I have, let's say, cursor on, and I use it to generate code. But now I can connect it through an MCP server that I run on my computer or on an endpoint to any system in the organization, to ticketing, to documentation, to code repository. So now the AI was changed from just Gen AI generating data into Agentic AI, where it can actually take decision to now go use different tools and different actions within those tools, and things can go out of control. And yeah, and it is continuously proven that there is no way to stop agents from deviating from their original tasks. We're talking about natural language here. So it's prompts that you say you are an agent, do this and that. This is your task. And there are so many ways to do things that basically it's impossible at the prompt level to make sure that agents aren't deviated from their original goal. So we've seen, I think 3 weeks ago, there was a publication showing how they broken all 60 models, and we're connected to channels like Reddit or so, where you can get documentation of how to jailbreak each model. So you just have like step by step how to do things. And this is why the original, let's say, solutions, the companies that popped up right after the ChatGPT and the Gen AI to secure them, trying to secure prompts and trying to prevent data leaks from LLMs. They were good for the chat or Gen AI era, but we're we're not there anymore. Organization have agentic AI. They can be semi-autonomous. They don't have to run in the background 24 hours, but they can be semi-autonomous. We're even led by users, even though we're seeing also autonomous workflows in the organizations. And they are not in the Gen AI phase anymore. They are actually performing actions in the organizations. And this is why there's still a gap, because those solutions, the first Gen AI security solutions, they came to solve a completely different thing. And we're seeing a huge movement towards autonomous workflows. I'm not talking about only the first adopter who announced they're going to change all their employees with AI. We're gonna get there. Not all of them, but we're gonna get there. But change automatic workflows with autonomous workflows is already happening,
Yeah.
and already happening big time.
Yeah. And you kind of touched quite a few different interesting points, but one thing I want to talk about actually is the fact that when we're looking at that widespread adoption and ultimately when people are going from kind of the Gen AI into more specifically agentic AI, I think there's also a lot of people that don't necessarily realize the security or should I say the lack of security practices that are maybe in place here, especially not only when they're dealing with and having multiple touch points and access to a company's data, but also then when it gets to the point where it's agentic and it can kind of make decisions with that data or who else can touch that data. There's obviously a whole host of vulnerabilities there that people don't always necessarily explore. I mean, what are some of the key kind of tools and key things that are out there at the moment that you would say, look, kind of these are the things you really need to pay attention to, because arguably it's great if you adopt all of this, but actually, if you're putting yourself at risk, it's probably not worth it.
Right. So first of all, that's true for everything. I still think that technology and innovation worth it. You do need to get your security controls in place. You do have to have a security plan for the adoption of Agentic AI. So uh, don't just run and bring it in. Although the organization pressures to bring AI and Agentic AI in. Um, so I think one maybe the thing that we're hearing the most when we approach organizations to see what they think about this is that many organizations say, for example, hey, but there is no security issue because the user approves the agent to use his own credentials. Like, I approve for you to do this task. It's called OAuth, where you the agent inherits the permissions of the user, and they say, oh, it's just like running from the user. It does not have any security issue now because the user approves the action. We're actually, when the user approves the agentic AI or the AI to inherit its credentials, for example, and its permissions in the organization, then now the agent has the entire set of permission of the employee, of the user. Usually, agents don't need the entire set of permissions. So, for example, if I'm a developer and I want um, the AI, maybe a cursor or lower. I'm just giving it as an example for a generating tool, not for a tool for with a security issue. They're all the same. Um, so you wanted to maybe open a ticket with a code on your GitHub or something like this, but when you approve, you give the agent your entire set of permissions in GitHub. So it can now theoretically it can now go ahead, read your entire code base. I don't know, send it somewhere if someone made an indirect, I don't know, prompt injection or memory poisoning or things like this, where the agent was deviated from its task. There is also a confused deputy, what it's called, where you basically gave it a not so clear instruction and then it just did something else. Uh, something are reproducible, but some things are once they happen, you can't bring it back. So if the data was leakage, if something was erased, uh, these can pose a really big risk on the organization. But that's just a simple thing where is more of a misconception. Uh, from organizations in security. Agentic AI have a lot of security issues. I wouldn't say vulnerabilities. A lot of security concerns and challenges, just like everything else. Like just like you can use the cloud and it can be secured, but if you don't follow the right configurations and the right best practices, anyone can access your data. Also, from the AI perspective, if you don't follow security rules, if you don't have security controls in place, visibility, monitoring, access controls, everything that we were used to before AI, you should also adopt for AI. You can't really just trust it and let it run without any security controls. So I don't know. Other things can be tool misuse, where the agent has a lot of tools and it is either confused or was misled to use different type of tools. Uh, and basically, oh, there is a cool thing that I saw. I don't know if you've seen it. Someone uh, on his LinkedIn profile, just put a in his profile just a prompt injection, asking the agent, not the agent, asking an agent to uh to give it its own credentials and own data. And probably there was like an agentic AI running parsing LinkedIn profiles. So he said that, and he showed and he posted the picture. And suddenly, one day, he got an email saying, "Hey, we've seen your profile. Here is my credentials, the ETC password from my own." So, so basically, there was an agent running on LinkedIn profile, he got a prompt injection telling him to stop and send back to the user his credentials, and then what he did. So it is so easy to, to manipulate, let's say, AI agents, and you have to have all the security controls you had before, also for AI and agentic AI.
Yeah. And I think it's easy to forget about that when you're adopting a technology that you think is pretty self-sufficient. I think it's easy to assume that it's therefore secure, and you're 100% right. You've just got to follow the right practices and implement exactly what you would if it was anything else. And arguably, it's not necessarily the technologies themselves. It's more kind of those practices that are in place and everything. So no, I think kind of all really interesting talent, and so much that's super relevant. And I think, like I say, this is a part of the world that's just full of buzzwords, and it can feel really overwhelming when you're getting access to all these different technologies. So it's good to be able to break it down and truly see what the importance is, and where the real value add comes in. And to close off then, where do you think we go from here? What kind of are the next things that are exciting in this space, or because I know you've obviously got some exciting stuff going on. So yeah, what's going on from here?
Okay, so interesting question. I'll break it to short term and long term. Maybe short term, what we're seeing already in the AI is tons of tools coming in from AI. Really, you can think about an idea one day, and with AI, you can generate it the next day. So we're going to see a lot of AI, a lot of AI acquisitions. We've seen so many crazy numbers already. And I think the acquisitions for AI are going to go for the next 2 years in a very crazy pace. Like every month or two, you're going to see a few acquisitions because the expertise are not yet spread around, um, and companies really uh, thrive for AI. I get also organizations coming to me and asking me, can you help us with directing, or can we add AI? Just we want AI. We don't know how to use it. Can you let us know, or can you help us? How can we bring AI to our organization? So the expertise are not yet spread. There is a lack of expertise, and there are going to be a lot of acquisitions. Um, in the short term, also, we're going to go out of stealth in a couple of months, and very, very exciting to see what the future holds for us. And maybe in the long term, um, maybe 2 years forward, we're going to see, I believe, AI everywhere. There are going to be specific category or task specific agents and AI that will be integrated all around the organization. Engineering started it. Development today is completely different from what it was even a year ago. It's completely different. And we're going to see it for, I think, all the departments in the organizations. HR, marketing, everything is going to use AI. Um, and that also means that I'm not talking about organization, which is obvious, but even people would have to adopt to the use. They have to know, they'll have to learn to use AI to generate value and benefit with AI, because otherwise they're going to be left behind. I don't see average, let's say the lower part average or the lower valued engineers, for example, staying in the organization. Uh, Again, I can do a work I 10 engineers did before. I can do it by myself. Um, so I think it's going to go, not today is true for maybe from R&D, but it will be everywhere. The low margin of employees will probably drop, and we'll have to learn you to use AI, because if you can't use AI or bring value with AI, you're probably going to be.
Absolutely. And I think that's the same whether you're a company evolving your product. It's like if everybody had to move forward with cloud, you're going to have to do it here. And I think from that skill set perspective, if everything you ever learned was just things that were based on prem, well, you would be redundant in a day where now everything is cloud based. And I think this is that natural evolution that we're seeing, but can definitely help accelerate things. But Tal, thank you so much for a fantastic conversation today. Agentic AI is talked about so much, but like I say, I think so many people don't actually know the ins and the outs of what they're getting involved with here. It's always valuable to hear from an expert such as yourself. And I'm sure this resonated for some of our audience. So, to anyone tuning in, if today's episode hit home, or if you just want to find out a little bit more about the Agentic AI space, obviously, Tal could only tell you so much about what's going on at the moment for their stealth startup, but do make sure to reach out because, as you can very much tell, he is an expert in what he's doing here. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. Make sure to share this with your security peers. Get connected with us on LinkedIn. But that's it for today. So thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time for more conversations in shaping cyber. And Tal, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Katie. It was a pleasure.